All right, welcome to the show. My name is Beto Gudiño with ChristianPodcast.com. My wife is not on the show today. All the kids are sick, and she stayed home. So Kalamity happening around the house, and Kalamity kills on the show today.
There's people ask me what the meaning of the name is. I say, well, is Calamity a good thing? No, Calamity kills. You don't want Calamity.
Yes.
It kills.
It kills.
But you do want to listen to the music.
Welcome to the show. I'm super excited. I was saying even before we started recording, and never met your heroes. You're one of my heroes. I don't care. I'm meeting you. This is amazing.
We've got a little bit of time to correct that. So I hope I make the cut.
Okay, so I'll let people in on what's going on this show before we kick off with the first question.
Okay.
So we have Theophilians Club, which is happening only on our ChristianPodcast.com website. So think of that as our Patreon. But we don't want Patreon. We just want Theophilians Club. So if you want to be a part of that, we're going to be asking 2 specific Guardian questions at the end of this conversation on Theophilians Club. And then we're also going to have our magical Beliefometer, which is these silly guys emojis. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, make sure you stick to the end and visit us at ChristianPodcast.com. All right? Okay, good. Welcome to the show. So excited.
Thank
Jamie,
you.
just how's life today? How you doing? Let's just start fresh.
I don't say this loosely. I really mean this. Life is better than ever. I'm 54 years old, and I've been making music since I was 17. I joined Guardian when I was 20, so I've lived a lot of life. And I'm telling you, 2025, even with all the madness in the world, my life is better than ever. I have a great marriage with my wife, Amber. My great friends, my kids are all good. So it's like, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. That's a great way to start. So this is something I like to do at the beginning of the show. Which emoji would you pick to how you feeling today?
Looking at it, the one in the center, just, optimistic and happy. That looks pretty good to me with the stars in the eyes. I have a glam rock background, so I always am attracted to the glitter and the stars and things like that. So I'll go with that.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the inspiring emoji. I think that's a great way to kick off today's episode. So Jamie, first of all, like I said, you're a legend in my world, in my view, and like I said, we're gonna talk a couple questions, Guardian, at the end. Right. But you have really been super influential in my life. Wow. So to see you now have like a brand new musical outlet, it's hard rock, So I've been listening to Calamity Kills, and it's like, wow, it resembles a little bit of Guardian, but it's not at all. It's something completely different, but it's your voice. So how do you feel about that? How did maybe Calamity Kills come about? Why is that a new endeavor in your life?
Yeah, it's cool. I obviously it's gonna sound a little bit like Guardian, because even though I was the singer, I also wrote a lot of the music. So especially on the Buzz and Bottle Rocket records, I could hear a song from Bottle Rocket, are we feeling comfortable yet? Are you feeling comfortable yet? I could hear that in a Calamity Kills thing. That seems like a natural progression, but man, I had a great run with Guardian for a long time, especially in Latin America. The Latin Americans embraced us, and I'm forever thankful for that. And when I think back to the Guardian years, most of my great memories involve Latin America. They really do. And, but man, I went for a few years, really not making music and just kind of, settled into life. And to be honest, I self-sabotaged myself in a lot of ways. Just putting myself on the throne. That's the best way to put it. And, God shook me up, man. And he never left me. He was always with me. But, it's like the prodigal came home, and, man, this has been about 10 years, and it's been a wonderful thing. It's almost 10 years. But, like I said, I live in Columbia, Tennessee. I make music. I work at True Tone, which is a guitar pedal effects power supply company. And everybody uses our stuff, from U2 to Korn to, Chris Tomlin. Everybody uses our stuff. And so it's cool to be a part of that. But as far as music goes, I'd put music completely down and had no plans to record music again. And in around 2019, I think it was, I got asked to play the Bluebird Cafe, which was a singer-songwriter thing here in Nashville. And it's kind of legendary for songwriters. So I went and played some songs I'd written, mostly for my wife, that I'd never planned to record or anything. And people really liked them at the venue. They, I didn't play Guardian music. I didn't play anything from my past. I played these new songs that no one had heard. And on the way home, I told my wife, I wonder if I should put up a Kickstarter and see if people would want to hear these songs. And in my mind, I had a thought, let me put this up, let it fail so I can move on with my life. And it still got funded in like 11 days. So I made the record called This Is Home, which was kind of a country influenced rock record. That's just where my head was. And then around 2020, 2021, somewhere through there, I rediscovered how much I love rock and roll. And I started writing songs, and they started coming out. I wasn't like, hey, I'm going to sit and write a rock record. I started writing these songs and started the next solo record. And when I listened to the songs, I realized this doesn't sound like solo music. This sounds like a band. So I decided to call that project Calamity Kills. And now it has actually turned into a band. But basically that's a long version of a long story, but and here I am today. As of today, I just looked right before I started an interview on US radio, on mainstream radio in the US. We're number 35 on the daily chart and stuff. We're number 38 on the weekly. So hopefully it sustains, because I'd love the published chart next week to show us at 35. But for an unsigned artist, especially with my history and my age and everything, it's pretty revolutionary to have a song on modern rock radio right now. So I'm thankful for all of it. Yeah.
Hey, it's a hero's comeback journey, maybe, perhaps.
I don't know about that.
That's so cool, man. Okay, so you said you love rock and roll again.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of I would say a musician background, probably not at the level that you were, traveling 35 countries, you have in your bio and stuff like that. But I do have kind of like that same experience where, man, there was just a season in my life of like, I don't care about music. I can't listen to it anymore. Even as a Christian, I feel like, I don't care so much. Like, I still went to church, I still worship, but I feel like, I don't know, something about it, right? What do you think it is in your journey coming like out of Guardian, like you said? Is it like you were just tired of music? Is it hard to find something fresh?
No, it was hard to find fresh. And I did do some things along the way. I didn't completely put it down, but as far as like making a living and making it like the centerpiece of like my existence, basically, like I didn't do that for a long time, but that's what I'm saying. It kind of organically came back to me. So, and when it did, I was ready for it. I've got way more life experience now than I did during the Guardian years. So there's, I try to bring all that into my lyrics and whatnot. And, but man, I really, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but it's like you were talking about, you went through that period, where you said, you were worshiping, but you weren't doing church or anything like that. We serve the God that can sustain us if we were on a desert island. So God is always with us, man. And so through those seasons and valleys, and I really love that. And I have a lyric in the song Sinner's Welcome from Calamity Kills that, I'm the walking, talking reason to live 99. That's autobiographical. I've been the prodigal in my life. You know what I mean? And God has always came after me. So God came after you. God can, the person watching who I don't even know and can't even see, God's watching you, man. He hasn't left you. Your world may be crazy, but I promise you, God is there.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's so good.
So,
okay. And I love that title, Sinners Welcome. Okay. So tell me a little bit about that and just your faith journey. How do you keep kind of like, maybe, because this is kind of like what I noticed in Guardian that was so refreshing for me. It wasn't overly, it was Christian.
Yes.
Almost overly Christian, but also not.
No, we had, and like I said, we never, and I still to this day don't do this. We never sat down and said, hey, we're going to write a Christian song. We're going to write a song with this agenda. We wrote what we knew. And to be fair, Guardian existed to play music and play it well as best as we could. but the mission of the band was to tell people about Jesus. And so we were by the actual term a Christian band. Even though I don't believe bands can be Christian, I believe, people can be Christians, but we existed. And, for us, that's why Tony would speak at every show, and let people know about our faith. But we also had some things along the way. We got played on the MTV, got a little bit of things. We got in some mainstream magazines. So we did have a little bit of that. And people did, when they listened to us, if they were just music fans, they were attracted to the music. I'm not going to say a large number of them were, but there was enough. And then, as we made a few records in Espanol.
Yes.
And that was awesome for us because of all the things we planned as a band. You do these things and hope they work or hope they take you to the next level of doing something. We had nothing to do with the Spanish records. That was the label asking us, saying, "Hey, your music is fairly popular in Latin America. Would you consider, if we had a translator, would you consider singing them in Spanish?" And we did. I did the record and forgot all about it. Like we just thought it was fun. Like, oh, that's cool, And then 6 or 7 months later, we played a show in Costa Rica, and it was like 7,500 people, and it was sold out, and they knew every word. Wow. And I'm sitting there with lyric sheets on stage, reading the lyrics, trying to sing in Spanish. And people were louder than the band. So what's cool is we always knew that was a God thing because we had nothing to do with it. And so that's a big reason why Latin America is I can speak for the other 3 guys in the band. Latin America means the world to us. And it's because of that experience, because we knew that was a God thing. And those people loved us and we loved them. And we just felt really blessed and honored to be a part of that.
Wow. Cool. So that's epic, and, like I grew up in Guadalajara, and I remember watching one of your shows there. I think it was 1997. You had just come out with Promesa in Spanish. Man.
Tengo una promesa. Yeah. Yo. I remember that.
Wow. Okay. So, that was beautiful. That was just so impactful. So if Guardian had the mission that you said, was to share Jesus, do you have a mission with Calamity Kills? Is there something?
You know what? That's what's funny. I don't consider Calamity Kills a Christian band at all. And here's why. Not because I'm not a believer. Obviously, I'm a believer. I belong to Jesus. That's just a fact. But much in the way I had a thing probably around 2000, to be honest, it's been in my head that, when we title our music Christian or we put it in a box, and it makes it harder for people to get to. And I've got a gift that God gave me that I believe belongs to everyone. And when I say, let's put it this way, here's a good analogy. If you're hungry and you want to, let's say you want a steak and potatoes, and you look down the street and there's a restaurant that says vegan restaurant. You're not going to go there because it may be a great restaurant, but it's not serving what you want. And so when you put out music, if you say this is Christian music, that's telling Christians this is for Christians only. That's the perception. And when I just say music, that's for everyone, Christians included. So that's a big mission. If I have to say a mission for a band, that's been a big change for me. I just feel like, like I said, the opportunities I have now is to be salt and light, and salt adds flavor and light lights up a room. You put too much light, you blind everyone. You put too much salt, you ruin the food.
Wow.
That's a great way to put it.
That's incredible.
But we're on Christian podcast. So, so people immediately know this is a podcast for Christians, to encourage Christians. I know this. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with the label to be identifying if that's what you would like to do. But with music, I just feel like Calamity Kills needs to be for everyone.
I love it.
And if they can't figure out that I have faith in Christ, then that's on me, man.
Wow. That's good. So one of your songs is Starry Skies 988.
Yeah.
Where you kind of like talk about the issue of suicidal ideation, right? And even, part of the name of the song is kind of like call this number.
Yes.
If you need help.
Yes.
right? So what a better way than offer something that I mean I see is at a positive to
You
help
know,
people
it
stay
is a
alive.
it is a positive, and a lot of people don't know, and that's in the U.S. here. You can dial 988 and speak to a counselor, or you can text them if you don't feel comfortable speaking. And a lot of people don't realize that exists, but even believers struggle with mental health issues sometimes. I know because I did. You know what I mean? I went through a very low point in my life, and I could have used the 988 hotline to speak with. But that actually song came about. Hold on, let me cough. That song came about from me being on TikTok, and I discovered this thread about this, like, I think it was a 12-year-old girl in Indiana that was being bullied at school, and she committed suicide, and it just broke my heart. And so I just realized there's just so many, there's so much senseless, needless loss of life that, if I always say, I mean, like I said, I've had battles in my life. I'm still here. I've survived 100% of my worst days, and you can too. You know what I mean? And ultimately, for me, what gets me through is my faith in Christ. But people need to know that they matter.
Wow, that's so good, and I love what you are doing with Calamity Kills.
Thank you.
Okay, so I love also that you said you work at True Tone,
I do.
and then you mentioned bands like let's just say secular bands
Yeah.
and Christian artists. What is that like? What is that? I don't know. Do you feel like there's even a tension? How do people even approach like Christians coming to like, hey, I need my guitar tone maybe after this sound that I don't know, like
No,
what is that like?
well, we did pedals for a long time. That was our main focus, guitar pedal effects, distortion and, chorus and delay and things like that. But like a band like a US band called Kings of Leon, like we have a Rowe, a pedal called the Route 66 that was basically their sound. That's what they used.
Yeah.
And then, and then pedals, I'm trying to think, I've seen even country music like Keith Urban using the VSXO, distortion box that we have. But basically everybody uses our power supplies, even because we were kind of innovators on that. We had like a thing where you could you could power your whole pedal board instead of putting batteries in your pedals with like basically almost like a cell phone charger. And we had that thing. And then we developed that into a larger unit called a One Spot Pro, which is a power box. And it's just gone like nuts as far as like popularity. And, and it's cool. Ray Luzier from Korn has become a friend. He played drums on a lot of the Calamity Kill stuff. But before that, we worked with them, and I did an ad for like Guitar World magazine for them, for the company. But, and Brian's a believer, the guitar player, he's a believer. But it's really cool because sitting on the other side and not being on the stage and seeing that, it's really fulfilling and rewarding to know that even if it's just power, you've got a little something to do with some of this music that's getting out to people. And I've met some great artists that have become friends. We even from country artists like Florida Georgia Line to, and Bob, our owner, made a special pedal for Bono from U2 and was able to give it to him and everything. And they gave him, passes to the show. It was really cool. But see, that's another thing. Instead of saying, hey, we're a Christian, everybody I work with are believers. And that's really cool. That's like having a church 5 days a week. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And, but what's cool is, Bob doesn't say, hey, we're a Christian power supply company. We're just a good power supply company. It's like In-N-Out Burger. They don't say we're a Christian organization. They just make great products. And people's, if they scratch beneath the surface, they find out, okay, these people have faith. And that's kind of what True Tone is. And that's kind of what Calamity Kills is,
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome, man. I love it. And yeah, I feel like just what a journey your life has been. So let's talk about the inspiration that you have been in my life. And then we'll go into like maybe Theophilians Club for ChristianPodcast.com. Okay. So I grew up like I said, in Guadalajara, Mexico. And I'm going to talk a little bit of Christian music back then, right? Because for me, and like I agree 100% with you. I feel like music is music.
Yeah.
And I understand, there's like worship music and music that maybe it's more tethered to the church and stuff.
No, exactly. Right? Like an artist like I Am They, who I enjoy, who is kind of a worship thing. I will listen to that. But see that again, that's music for Christians. And that connects with me in a big way. And I will seek that out. You know what I mean? There are times, I mean, I will listen to I Am They, and, you know, I'm this rock guy, but I love that band,
Wow.
you know, and so Christian music definitely has it, like artists like Casting Crowns to encourage believers and whatnot. I think it's great. And there was a time I thought everybody should think like me, you know, and be more mainstream oriented. And I realized, no, I've seen God work through Christian music.
Mm.
So if that's your like calling, if that's your agenda, if that's your you know, your passion, then you need to do that. Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. So I grew up listening to many Christian music, right? But most of it, this is the interesting part, that there were only a few maybe worship guys in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then maybe the resources were different back then, right? As far as like, you know, technology and recording and you know, money and
Yeah.
how to produce music. So a lot of the music I was listening to came from the US.
Yeah.
Right. So I would be, and this is in the 80s. So it was hard finding new music, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I kind of just wanted to go back with you a little bit into a different era, right?
Sure.
When we used to play like a cassette tape. Like I remember some of my first Guardian, it wasn't a CD.
Yeah.
It was a cassette, right?
Yeah.
And you had to like push play and then listen to one side and then take it out
Turn
and
it over,
flip
yeah.
it
Yeah.
and then play again and then another 5 songs, right? And then we're like headbanging.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was almost like a complete different era, and music
Oh.
matters so much because it was hard to get.
Yes.
It's not like now it's like Spotify, right? With millions and millions and millions
Yeah.
of songs, and you kind of like just abuse the system and let it play and you don't care.
Yeah.
I feel like back then, you know, growing up, you care so much. It's like, okay, this
Yeah.
music came to me as a kind of like as a gift, you know, because
Yeah.
it's hard to get. I only have one cassette. I need a thing to play it on. I can only listen to the song at a time and then flip, like that whole thing. It was kind of like a treasure, man. And I feel
No,
like right?
you? I mean, those CDs and cassettes cost between $10 and $20 each. So you were invested in that, you know. But I do love in the Spotify era that, like, if I'm just walking through the house, and all of a sudden I remember a song I heard when I was like 14 years old.
Yeah.
I can hear it. I love that. Now, obviously, the artist payment system is a little, you know, unfair, so to speak. But I love, for the consumer, for the music fan, it's a great time for music because you have access to basically everything, you know.
Wow.
And I like that. But I do. First of all, I do want to say this. I've even designed some of the artwork for it. I really think Calamity Kills is going to come out on cassette, even if it's just like
Really?
100 copies.
Wow.
And just for the novelty of it, just because for the fan piece, the vinyl is on its way right now. It's in manufacturing and should be released any time now. But vinyl and cassette, yeah. If we had a chance to do 8-track, I would do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so cool. Okay, so let's talk about that, and then we'll go to the Theophilians. So Calamity Kills it's a new band, right?
Yeah.
It's a new sound, but you're tied to that connection, even to, like you're saying, you know, I'm gonna make a cassette. What do you think it's maybe the future? What are you experiencing as you're putting out Calamity Kills? And you said, man, I'm gonna do this as like my last thing, just to prove you that
Yeah.
I'm done with music. And you're not, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what though? I will probably, if God willing, I hope the rest of my music days are with Calamity Kills. That would be great. If not, I will still probably record a few songs, probably under the name Jamie Rowe. And, you know, I'm wired to make music. And the thing is, even if I didn't have an opportunity to record and release it, I would still write it because that's what I was doing beforehand anyway. I just constantly write songs or have song idea. I mean, my phone here, my voice notes have, you know, hundreds of song ideas that I put on. I'm in the car like, you know, and then going home and working out on guitar. But, man, I've been really blessed, and I'm going to address something you kind of touched on. You know, the Guardian years were fantastic. You know, they were really, you know, it was life changing for not just the band, but for a lot of people. And I'm very happy. But when it ended hard. And there was a 5 to 6, 7 year period. I didn't know what to do with my life because like I said, I joined Guardian when I was 20, and all of a sudden I'm in my early 30s, and you can't go my income stopped, and I can't go to the local, like hiring agency and say, "Hey, what's your experience?" I toured the world. Where they're not looking for that
Wow.
at a job place. But fortunately, I leaned into social media and found out that I had a knack for that and web design and whatnot. And so I've actually had I make a better living now than I did when I was in Guardian at its peak. And
Wow.
so I make more music not playing music full time. I make more money. But the thing is, the money, because of streaming, has dried up so much that you really have to, if you're going to be an artist these days, you really have to do it because you love it, because it's a terrible way to make a living. And I think that's been kind of cool because, one, because I'm not dependent on music for income, that doesn't factor into my writing, and it's freeing. And if it goes out and it blows up, great. If it doesn't, then I still got that artistic reward. That's my return. I got to make the record, create it, and put it out. But it's just a different day. I feel badly for young artists because it's just, to make a living, you basically, I mean, I know a lot of bands that are fairly well known that when they're not touring, they're working day jobs. And that really wasn't the case in the 90s. If you were doing music, you were doing it full time, but things have just changed so much.
Yeah. Wow. Different era. Okay. We're going to the Theophiliacs exclusive section of this. So if you guys want to listen to this part, you need to go to the Theophilians Club, exclusive content only on ChristianPodcast.com. Okay. So head on over there, and we're going with a few more questions. Okay. So thank you, Jamie Rowe. This has been just a tremendous joy to talk with
Oh,
you.
thank you, brother.
It's just so awesome. You're still my hero.
We still got a few minutes left. I can still change that.
Yeah. So you're still a hero. Okay. So I on this part, we're gonna go over the belief-o-meter, but I also have a couple questions that my kids had. And
Okay.
this is the part that I was saying, man, like Guardian had been so influential. And I love that you said, as we were talking, that the Latin American community meant so much for you guys.
Mhm.
It's so intense. My kids, like I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. They were listening to Guardian, and they're listening to these songs I was listening to
Wow.
like more than 20 years ago, and they're still being moved by them.
Yeah.
And they're even like comparing, the English to the Spanish version.
Uh-huh.
And now, I mean, it's super accessible, right? Like on Spotify.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I was like, wow, this is so. I was just super impressed that my kids were moved, And I mean, another example, this is